All right, welcome back. This is part 4 of 5 of a brief history of Bastunia. This is going to be the most eventful era. This is where the most, I think, shifts and things begin to get exciting. This is where you start to really see the foundations that are present in the world of Bastunia and modern day really begin to be formed. We'll start by zooming out back to the galactic scale. Buntu, our god, is fighting feverishly to the point where he has become less present with the world of Bastunia and more present fighting his war. He's still active, and he's still playing a role in the majority of people's lives, meaning he's still giving people callings. He's still that. I mentioned this philosophical idea about God in a previous history video where your God is kind of infused within the consciousness of the world, and his awareness, he's a lowercase g God, so his awareness only extends so far, but he can look at the world and he can say, what does this world need? Oh, it needs more of this, and let me have a child that is brought into the world that is going to kind of satisfy this need for the world. And so hence people are getting callings, people are having purpose associated with that. I will add that it's very important to note that while the God has his awareness infused within the world and can deliver a calling that will speed things along for this person, that person without a beast, in the beginning of the Crumble, this is where we start to see people that don't receive beasts, still have purpose. They're still important to the evolution of society, but they're left to figure it out more for themselves. It's kind of a little bit like the God is helping the chicken out of the egg, and it speeds it up. It gets the chicken out of the egg faster, but arguably the process of breaking out of the egg for the chick, is pretty vital to its development, of strength, to its development of, we could go so far as to say a mindset. And so whether or not that's true for chicks, that's definitely true in Bastunia, where somebody who figures out their own dharma, who figures out their own path, who's walking according to their utmost authenticity, despite the world trying to point them toward other things, or despite the world telling a no beast that they don't have purpose, when they really figure it out, I think they're going to be better for it. So this is the beginning of the Crumble. It's about year 180. It goes almost 100 years, like 98 years. It'll go to 278. And in this era, you're going to see about 1 in 5, maybe 1 in 6, maybe about every 15% of people are just born without a beast. And so in this era, when people are born without beasts, something very interesting changes within the psyche of the Bastunians. Now, I just mentioned that just because you don't have a beast doesn't mean that you don't have purpose and that you're forgotten by this God. You're still created, you're still in the God's image, and you're still in the world there to be purposeful, also infused in kind of the collective consciousness. But that's not the way the Bastunians see it. Bastunians tend to latch onto these external things, and they take their value from their calling, and they say, clearly the God cares about me. Clearly the God doesn't care about you. I have purpose because I have a beast, but you don't have purpose because you don't have a beast. So at the point where Joan is born, which is beyond the Crumble, in the fall and the 4th era, there's been 115, 120 years practically of this type of mindset. And so Joan being born without a beast is already being born without a beast as well. They definitely are under fire of mockery and bullying, but that's for later. So what happens is people start to look at their beast with a little bit more scrutiny, and they say, my beast is winged. It can travel vast distances. I contribute to society by being a messenger, and therefore I have an explorer beast, and I'm going to go hang out with like-minded, like-abled beasts. And so the explorers kind of develop into a sect, into a mindset, into kind of a walk. And at this point, it is a way of looking at your beast and thinking about your purpose in the world. But it's definitely on the brink of becoming an identity as opposed to more allegorical, more a guidepost. People look at their beast and they say, "Oh my gosh, it's so good at mining raw materials. It's so good at building, so good at hoisting large objects. It's good at heating these two materials and fusing them together. This is a builder beast, and it ought to be used for building." And so the builders are formed. Another tribe yet, or another group yet, looks at their beast and says, it's basically armored. It's basically indestructible. It's the one that when the Azighra come down from space, you're seeing it naturally running toward the fight as opposed to away from the fight. I've heard this said that a lot of times, like law enforcement and people who are heroic, they didn't even stop to think. There was a scenario that needed their attention, and they saw themselves as the person that's going to step up and save the day. Not like, should I save the day? Yeah, I think that's the right decision. I'm going to go save the day. They just found themselves running toward danger. That's what these third group, this third beast, found themselves doing. And so they established themselves as defenders. And so that really happened only because there was this contrast. There was this no beast group. And when there's a no beast group, then people with beasts tend to look at their own beasts a little bit more with a sense of importance, even self-importance. It is into this era, at about year 245, that the second hero is born. At least the second hero that we're really going to focus on for now, and that's James. That's Joan's beloved, not so beloved father. And he comes in. The population has grown to, let's see, probably about 12,000 people at this point. I remember at the very beginning, Buntu creates basically 100 people, 3 tribes of 33 in the time of 3 to kick off the world. So now we've grown to about 12,000 people. Main city is kind of the central city. Everything is happening there. But Metropolia is also being created. Base camp is also being settled. The Colosseum is also being settled. So by this point, main city is definitely hey, imagine that, the main city. But the world geography looks much as it does to us in present day, if you take a look at that map. So James is born. He meets his wife soon. Toward the end of this era, toward the end of the Crumble, we're going to have a little baby in the arms of James and Carrie, this sweet baby Joan that we're going to come to know and love. And let's see, and that's pretty much the Crumble. Starting in the fall, the god becomes even more preoccupied with his battle and will further remove himself from the daily ongoing influences that he's had in Bastunia up to this point. Not necessarily a decision, more so a necessity, more so a consequence of getting some hard knocks in this galactic war. And so things are about to shift again, hence the name The Fall. You know, we have Argus establishing these really solid foundations and ushering in order and bringing about the sages and bringing about the Pandit families. And the Crumble is the cracks in this sturdy foundation, just because they were inevitable, you know, having the planet where the planet is. which I want to make a small amendment to something I explained in a previous video. So remember this, there's lost planets, and these are the ones that are governed by Azighra, if you can call it government. It's basically just chaos. That's what's characteristic of lost planets. Then there's the Unfound, and that's the contested zone. That's the battlefront, the front lines. And then there are the found planets. So before I called these Unfound, these are lost. This little small band is the Unfound. So think of it this way, completely lost, just immersed in darkness, nothing there, just pure chaos, not a scrap of consciousness amongst the lot. Unfound, it's like they exist, they're present. You can look at them and see them. They've been found, but they're not quite in the world of the found yet, in this contested zone. Hence the name of the comic, Unfound Anamnesis. So that's kind of an important distinction. Do you care? Is it semantics? Kind of, but we're in the Unfound band. So in the next video, we're going to talk about the fall. That's the 15 years that brings us up to present. So you're all up to speed. Make sure if you want to see some sneak previews of characters, follow us on Instagram, unfound_anamnesis, on Facebook, Unfound Anamnesis. You'll see how to spell Unfound Anamnesis just on your video. So there's no excuse. Appreciate you. See you in the next video.